For more on this is Massachusetts Democratic Representative Seth Moulton. He joins me now from Washington. Congressman, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You served 4 tours in Iraq, and you said recently you were ashamed that Donald Trump was our president and that his policies put our troops' lives at risk. How do you think that the president's executive order does that?
Well, first of all, it does nothing to improve the vetting process. But what it does do is it makes it much more difficult for us to work with our critical Muslim allies overseas, the translators, the intelligence sources that are absolutely essential in our fight against terrorism. These are people that I had to work with every day on the ground in Iraq. I would put my life in their hands, and they put their lives in our hands. And the promise we made is that we would take care of them if the terrorists came after them and their families. And now we're just abandoning them.
And Congressman, you work to get your own Iraqi translator here to the United States. I'm wondering how you think this executive order could impact troops currently on the ground.
You know, I remember the day that Mohammed came to work at the base where I was in Hilla, Iraq, and said, "Seth, I can't work with you anymore because the terrorists have threatened my family." And that was a tough day. And we talked about it. I said that he's essential to our work, and we both share a desire to see the United States of America succeed. And ultimately, he decided to keep working. But I promised him that we would take care of him and we would take care of his family. I can't imagine the troops trying to have those conversations today when the president back in America says, "No, we won't take care of you. We won't allow you to come here." A lot of these guys are just going to quit, and that's going to put the lives of our troops at much greater risk.
The president's senior policy advisor, Stephen Miller, said on CBS this morning, quote, "We're going to take the next 30 days to develop a new set of screening protocols to try and ensure that people entering our country truly love and support the United States of America." What's wrong with that, number one? And number two, I'm curious, what was the process like for your Iraqi translator and the vetting process particularly as you tried to get him here to the United States?
Well, refugees undergo the strictest security screening of any traveler to the United States. In fact, it's pretty silly for a terrorist to try to go through the refugee channel when there are much easier ways to get here. Throughout the Obama administration and previous administrations, we always work to improve the vetting process. And if the Trump administration wants to continue doing that, to make sure that we're using the latest techniques and information to make sure these refugees are safe to come to America, then I'm very supportive of that. That's something that we've always been doing. But this executive order didn't contain anything about actually improving the process. And in the meantime, it's going to turn an awful lot of our allies overseas against us. And we already know that ISIS, and I'm sure other terrorist groups, are using this executive order as propaganda to incite attacks against Americans and American troops and to help recruit more terrorists to their side.
On Sunday, you claimed that Defense Secretary James Mattis would, quote, "no way in hell be supportive of this immigration order." Why not?
Because General Mattis, like myself, had to rely on these translators, these critical allies. And he knows how important it is that we're able to protect them. So I'm confident that he wouldn't support this. And that just shows that the Trump administration isn't even consulting its own people before it puts these edicts out. And that's dangerous for our country.
White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said that the reason they essentially pushed this executive order through so quickly is that they wanted to not give potential terrorists a heads up who might decide to come rushing into the United States ahead of whatever kind of executive action the president would take. What would you say to that?
Well, if Sean Spicer said that, he obviously has no clue about the refugee process. It takes a long time for refugees to come through the system. I just had another translator come to America 8 years after we started his procedure. It took 8 years for him and his family to get through the process to come here. So Sean Spicer, and I guess the rest of the administration, obviously have no idea how this works.
Lastly, President Trump has compared his policy to when the Obama administration slowed the number of visas it issued to Iraqis in 2011. Are these orders similar?
No, not at all, because what the Obama administration did is improve the vetting process. Now, it's true that at that time it did slow down the immigration of Iraqi refugees, but it never stopped. They never had a ban. They never had a ban against majority Muslim countries that could be used against us and our troops. So it's an entirely different story. President Obama did the right thing to improve security. President Trump is doing the wrong thing for our national security. It seems that he's just doing it for political gain.
Congressman Seth Moulton. Congressman, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Elaine.